Hello, everyone. We're here back again, the PodLayer team, and we're working again on Track 2 voicing, where we go over the various principles of PodLayer theory and express our basic understanding of them to show that we are qualified to talk about our own model. As we know from dealing with some people with other models, that is not always the case. So make sure in PodLayer we do, in fact, know the fundamentals of our own model. All right, we are now moving on to Nyy'xai, and the section we're on is Nyy'xai Life Partners. So, Ben, you have that up and ready.
All right. So, social alchemy, the first paragraph?
No, it's actually going to be life partners. So
I mean the first paragraph starts with social alchemy. So is that the one I'm starting on, or?
It'll be to answer this question, what are the major categories of life partners for all mojos?
So she should probably ask
probably the second paragraph then, right?
Okay. Let me open to make sure I see what you guys are looking at. So there we go. Nyy'xai ebook.
Yeah, the first beat looks like it's just trying to lay things out, I think.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes, thank you. Good. Second paragraph then.
Okay. The most common successful pairing for intimate relationships is between two people who can best project their unconscious geniuses onto one another. The ideal inspirational for the Nyy'xai is the Nyy'xai, who has the four powers the Nyy'xai does not. And in the hierarchical rank...
No, actually, the first paragraph is correct.
Okay.
Okay, then, Coach, you should probably ask the question first, then.
Yeah, it's right there. What are the major categories of life partners for all mojos? So I guess you could focus on probably the last sentence of the first paragraph.
Okay, there are various different forms. Oh, should I just say that sentence?
Right.
Or should I say the whole thing?
The whole thing, but for your answer, that would be
okay. Social alchemy has several areas that have significant expansion for specific purposes, such as education, business, and most popular of all, life partners. Finding, selecting, and successfully interacting with potential life mates involve a multitude of factors, including nature, nurture, and free will. There are various different forms of intimate and life partner relationships, such as inspiration, augmentation, compensation, and suppression, which have corresponding energetic dynamics that go along with them. The major categories of life partners for all mojos are inspiration, augmentation, compensation, and suppression.
This first will be quick. Mitchell?
I thought there were 5.
There are
partitioning.
I think there was a compensation and partition, but over time I've actually been using mainly compensation because I think it had been a bit confusing for people. But there actually is technically 5, but those two kind of blur together a lot.
So what do you name of those things? Compensation and partitioning with those respective groups?
Just compensation.
Oh, I know. I was asking though. What was the reason? Just out of curiosity, what was the reason for naming it?
The subtle distinction that I had gone with is that compensation tends to have it to where they are more fully integrated into your life, but always with a compensatory factor.
Yeah, because I know that the compensation mojos, like for Nyy'xai, I remember that's Ziny and Jai V, so other adaptives still, whereas partitioning mojos were like other directives.
Yeah, and so the
like mostly Z mojos.
Where often you have
mojos.
to take a break. So for example, like with the Ziny, you could still have the directive adaptive back and forth, but obviously you're going to have to compensate in every area that you go to. Whereas with directives, there's more partitioning because there's going to be that competition for who's doing the momentum directiveness versus the other. And so basically you'll have to either just always take turns who's doing it, and as a part of that, it tends to be where you'll do activities on your own when you I really need the directive here, and I can't have another directive around who's my mate because that kind of throws off me being the directive.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in that case, the major categories of life partners for all mojos are inspiration, augmentation, compensation, and suppression. And we can include partitioning if we want, but
if you want. I almost want partitioning is like a subgroup of compensation, because you can kind of say compensation is partitioning is a kind of compensation.
Yeah, it's a kind of. I get it. Yeah.
But no, you are right. There was 5. Glenn, take us home, please.
Right. The major categories of life partners for all mojos include the inspiration, augmentation, compensation, and suppression.
Gotcha. All right. Next up, Mitchell, you go first here.
Okay.
Let me do that star thing. Okay. What are the inspirational life partners? How frequently do inspirational life partner situations occur? Which mojo designs are inspirational life partners for the Nyy'xai and why?
Okay. The most common successful pairing for intimate relationships is between two people who can best project their unconscious genius onto one another. The ideal inspirational for the Nyy'xai is the Nyy'xai, who has the 4 powers the Nyy'xai does not, and in the hierarchical rank it matches up perfectly with the Nyy'xai. 2 other highly inspirational mojos for the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai are the Nyy'xai and the Jinai. The Nyy'xai has the power of Nai first, like the Nyy'xai, but the second power for the Nyy'xai is Z, which is logic-based power, when a Nyy'xai is ideally inspired by Ji, a values-based power. The Jinai has both the Nai and Ji as the top 2 powers, the most inspiring powers to Nyy'xai, but with the Ji ranked above the Nai, when the Nyy'xai is ideally inspired by a person who has Nai ranked above Ji as their top 2 powers, as is the case with the Nyy'xai.
Take your time when you're ready.
Sure.
Does it talk about how often they occur?
It's the most common.
Okay.
It's not like a percentage, but I just went with the general number of it's the most common. So for that kind of question on these, it's just going with the ranking of which is most common, least common.
Ideal inspirational would be the most common, and then the normal inspirational, like the Nyy'xai and the Jinai, would be less common.
Oh no, what it's referring to there is a good question there. I was using that as a distinction between the other major groupings, such as augmentation, compensation, and suppression relationships. So inspiration overall is the most common, and then augmentation is the next most common, and so forth.
Yeah, because I think we found otherwise though, like while that is true, that may be sometimes certain augmentation relationships, like the same mojo, might be more common than some of the other non-ideal inspirationals, right?
Exactly.
But as a whole, inspiration is probably a lot more common than.
Yeah, because if you actually go just really like fine slicing, the most common is ideal inspiration. And then the next most common is actually full augmentation. Like, you know what I mean? Nyy'xai, most common pairing is Nyy'xai and Nyy'xai. The next most common is Nyy'xai with Nyy'xai. So we're kind of talking about inspiration as a whole and augmentation as a whole. Does that make sense, Glenn?
Yeah, so Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai, and then the Nyy'xai to Nyy'xai, right?
So I guess in my explanation may have confused things a bit. I apologize for that. Basically, what me and Mitchell were saying is that we're talking inspiration as a total, all 3 of the inspirational trio, compared to, say, all 3 of the augmentation trio, all 3 of the suppression trio, for example.
I know. We're just talking about like individual like.
But yes, if you we're not this question, but if we were to go more finely sliced, actually probably the most common is the fulls. Full inspirational is the most common. Then full augmentation, say Nyy'xai to Nyy'xai, and then actually like full suppression or
actually we've seen quite a bit of that.
It's very, very common.
Nyy'xai with like V alpha.
So Nyy'xai and V'Zai is the 3rd most common slicing?
Actually, Nyy'xai with V'Zai. If you were to say fine, not taking the whole trio, just taking a slice of the trio.
I understand. Yeah.
The most common is Nyy'xai with Nyy'xai. Next is the slice of Nyy'xai with Nyy'xai. And then
I think he meant Nyy'xai with Nyy'xai first.
With Nyy'xai would be the most common. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm ready to go.
With Nyy'xai and then Nyy'xai with V'Zai.
Yeah.
Okay.
So inspirational life partners are the kind of life partner relationship that between 2 people who can best project their unconscious genius onto one another, and that is the most common, the inspirational out of all of the major slicings. And the mojo designs that are inspirational life partners for the Nyy'xai are the Nyy'xai and also to a lesser extent, the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai, and it's the Nyy'xai because they have the exact same channel ordering with the opposite power in the channel, and with the Nyy'xai, they have Nyi first, which is the most inspirational power, but it's with a logic-based power, which doesn't mesh well with the Nyy'xai, and the Nyy'xai, although they have the right powers in as the momentum, the ordering is off, so they're a discernment lead. There's Xi Alpha, and that doesn't fit with the kind of lead perception rhythm that the Nyy'xai have.
Got it. Nice. Glenn, you ready?
All right, just a moment. So inspirational life partners have to do with a pairing of two different mojos that have very, very high success rate among each other, as far as like they're most best able to project each other's unconscious genius onto one another.
Correct, because they have. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No,
I wasn't sure if you're asking a question or stating. My bad. I apologize.
No, that's fine. So the most frequently common kind of relationship is one that is inspirational as compared to the augmentation, compensation, and suppression. The mojo designs that are the most inspirational to the Nyy'xai mojo would include the Nyy'xai, the Nyy'xai, and the Nyi. The Nyy'xai being the most inspirational, often referred to as the ideal inspirational, because they have the exact same channel ranking, Nez, Jez, Zez, and then Vez, but they don't have any of the same powers. They have Nyy'xai Zai V, whereas the Nyy'xai has Nyy'xai Z Vi, completely different powers. The Nyy'xai and the Nyi are less ideal. They're also inspirational, but they're not considered ideal because the Nyy'xai has Nyi as their source, which is ideal inspirational, but they have Z as their tandem and Zhai as their offside, which are two powers that the Nyy'xai also share, and that causes some kind of a bit of a competing quality where, you know, not all 8 powers are being represented fully and in the optimum ranking. The Nyi is also inspirational as well, and all 8 powers are represented with their pairing as well. But the problem with them is that their source power is G and their tandem power is Nyi, and whereas with the Nyy'xai they require, for an ideal inspirational relationship, Nyi being ranked higher than G, not G being ranked higher than Nyi.
Got it.
So yeah.
Ben, take us home, please.
Right. Inspirational life partners are generally people that are easiest for a person to project their unconscious genius onto. The inspirational trio for the Nyy'xai is the Nyy'xai, the Nyy'xai, and the Nyi. The Nyy'xai is the ideal inspirational because they have the same channel ranking as the Nyy'xai, that is Nez over Jez over Zez over Vez, and they have the 4 powers that the Nyy'xai do not. The Nyy'xai is also inspirational because while they do not have the exact same channel ranking, they do have Nyi as their source power and V as their polar power, which leads to a great amount of inspiration in the source and polar positions. The Nyi is also inspirational because despite the fact that the ordering isn't exactly the same, they do have the 4 powers the Nyy'xai does not, and the ordering is pretty close. You have Xi over Nyi over V over Zai, so it's just slightly different.
Good. Question. Just make sure. Did I miss it? Did you say frequency of inspirational pairing?
Oh, and inspirationals are most common above augmentation, suppression, and so forth.
Got it. Alrighty. Next up, this will be you'll take the lead on this one, Glenn.
All right.
Okay. What are augmentation-like partners? How frequently do augmentation-like partner situations occur? Which mojo designs are augmentation-like partners for the Nyy'xai, and why?
All right. The next most common pairing is when 2 people of the same innate nature design to come together, and it's referred to as augmentation, which tends to happen when they share a common cause or goal that acts as the projection of their unconscious genius instead of projecting their unconscious genius onto a human form. For the Nyy'xai, this usually means pairing up with another Nyy'xai as a life partner, which has the benefits of being comfortable and easy to understand. However, the powers required to inspire the Nyy'xai to their maximum potential. This inspiration will need to be found through other means, such as art, career, or a cause that brings these energies into the Nyy'xai's life on a consistent and pervasive basis. So the augmentation, there's only one mojo that fits that, right? That's
Yeah, it doesn't mention the Zhaini or the Nyy'xai.
Yeah, I should actually update that. So yeah, you can go ahead and just mention those. You don't have to go into detail of the differentiating like you did in the other one, but I think mentioning would be good. I'll go ahead and add that to the books.
I think it's always like it's really cool how like augmentation for a mojo is like it is like the inspirational trio for your ideal inspirational. So like augmentation trio for the Nyy'xai is Nyy'xai, Nyy'xai, and Zhaini. That's also the inspiration trio for Nyy'xai.
Exactly.
That's
cool.
why our stories are.
And you often find sometimes in your spirit formings that when you're talking with your other, a lot of times it will kind of come as a trio. Next, you often will come with like Serenity and Lucky Shot with me in various forms, and it's, like my full other really has all three. It's just the Nyy'xai always takes lead. In fact, there was a time my youth where that would sometimes be projected as three hotties that were sisters. I now know that's genetically pretty much impossible to happen. But I didn't know that. You know, like movies, a lot of times you have like these three sisters that are super awesome, and one's like this and this and this. You know what I mean? I think my psyche kind of took that and made, you know, one of Nyy'xai, one of Nyy'xai, one of Zhaini, but now I'm like, okay, that never happens. So my psyche is updated. They're good friends. They're now good friends that hang out together.
Yeah.
All right. So augmentation life partners are mojos that for the Nyy'xai, they, generally speaking, augmentation life partners are mojos that one does not actually share in the sense that they're not inspirational, but they are common. They are the second most common. What do you call it? Grouping, because they oftentimes are very successful. Because and the reason why they happen is because the partners will have something that they'll focus on as a goal or as a kind of something to draw us together, but they don't actually project their unconscious genius onto any sort of like human form. They project it onto the cause itself, and that's why they tend to be very successful. They're the second most common, right after the inspirational, but they are definitely second most common. They don't happen as often in relationships do. The mojo designs that are represented for the augmentation relationship for the Nyy'xai would include the Zhaini and the Nyy'xai. And yeah, do I go into the details?
No, I think you got it. That's good. Good. All right, Ben, you're up next.
Augmentation life partners are life partners that augment the signal of your powers in a significant way. So for Nyy'xai, having another Nyy'xai would give you a lot of more Ni and Zhai, thus making them augmentation. Also, you have the Zhaini and the Nyy'xai who do in different ways. But the Nyy'xai, it's because they have the exact same powers and their ranking as you. So that's like the fullest augmentation you can get. With Nyy'xai, it's not the fullest augmentation, but it's pretty close. You have because they're also Ni Alpha, they have Ni in the source position, and unless you sent Phi in the polar position, but not the Xi and the Ji, with the Zhi and the Z. And then you also have the Zhaini, who have the same powers that you do, just in slightly different order with the Nyy'xai over the name, which still gives you quite a bit of augmentation, not as much.
Good. Would you mind just touching briefly on what it usually is that makes augmentation successful?
Oh yes. So oftentimes these relationships will be successful because you'll get a lot of energy from being around people who have the same power as you, and it's easy and comfortable to understand them. But what you can do, and what you need to do, is you need to be able to get the energy of the other four powers in some other way. So, for example, through your career, or from talking to and interacting with other maybe Nyy'xai or other inspirationals, in order to get that interaction with your other.
Yeah, because you can get that in a platonic fashion. Doesn't have to always be intimate. All right, Mitchell, take us home, please.
All right. All right then. So augmentation life partners are when people of the same innate nature design, or roughly close to the same innate nature design, come together, and usually because they share some kind of common cause or project or something like that, which they can project their unconscious genius onto, because they don't project it onto one another. They are the next most frequent after the inspirational life partner and after the inspirationals in the life partner hierarchy as a whole. And the mode designs for the augmentation life partners are other Nyy'xai, as said, because that is the most sort of comfortable and easy to work with, and they have the same powers and channels and can most augment that same signal the Nyy'xai is already giving off. And then the other two that are quite close are the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai.
Good.
And Mitchell did so much better than I did.
Y'all doing great. I also think I think you guys bonus deck each other. As you kind of play off each other's answers. Alrighty, so this next one up, back to you to start, Ben.
Okay.
Here we go. What are compensation life partners? How frequently do compensation life partner situations occur? Why do Nyy'xai need to be especially careful about falling into compensation life partner situations?
Okay. Another mate choice that's not that uncommon. It usually involves partners who are conducive to one's cultural conditioning and expectations, which then determine the worldly goals they set for themselves, including who they spend their life with. These are called compensatory relationships, as they use one's mate as a form of coping mechanism to deal with the overactive stimulation and overbearing expectation that can come from established institutions and traditions. Nyy'xai in particular need to be careful about this because their metamorphic and lucky charm abilities make it to where they can easily act as an ideal mate substitute, intensely pleasing lots of people for periods of time, but then they can feel trapped if they are not allowed to move on.
Yeah, I would think that adaptives in general would have they might, if they are in a compensational relationship, they might end up trying to adapt themselves in a way that actually causes them to overmodulate. That seems like it could be a possibility, a concern.
The boundary setting is more challenging to them. So if someone else kind of imposes their wants and needs on adaptive, they may, unfortunately, go along with it when they shouldn't.
Yeah, to their own detriment in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Wait, is Ben gone?
No, I think he read it and now he's digesting before he gives his answer. Is that correct, Ben?
Why, I don't see him.
Oh.
You?
No, I do not. We've lost it.
It's just the three of us.
I mean, he might be digesting his answer and just not realize that he dropped off or something.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead with you first, Mitchell, and then Glenn. We'll see if he can come
All right.
back.
Well, yeah, hopefully he'll get back, but I'll still digest it. All right. Did he already read the?
Yeah, he did. He read it through.
Okay. I'm like goes facing out there. All right. Anyway. Oh yeah, I never mind. I actually did. I did remember reading that. That's why we're talking about it. And Glenn asked the question that he did. So for Nyy'xai, what are those? Those are Z9, G5.
Yeah. And this one I didn't really ask too much for what the motors they are, just because there's quite a pantheon of what you could use to compensate with.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of Nyy'xai in compensation relationship, but I've not seen too many Nyy'xai with Z9 or G5.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Nyy'xai with Zhai and Zaini.
I think it's probably a combination of factors. Probably, well, we do know just one is like the kind of trophy. Sometimes.
Which both Zhai and Zaini can be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's sad to say, but
females. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot
That's
of
probably one of the reasons.
like become very big entertainers, and they're like, okay, I want the best car, I want the best house, and I want the best trophy wife.
Yeah. Because they're both the kind of like model starlet type. And then,
yeah, he must be successful.
It's all to sort of show off, like, look at my life and look how great it is. But even that is done poorly, right? It's
I would bet there's a lot of Nyy'xai with Zenai out there, like in science and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure it is there. But yeah, to answer your question, Glenn, I do think that you're not showing off in the right way.
Yeah.
For example, like say Eddie Murphy, who was with Zaini, I think he still is with a Zaini model. It's showing off that he's successful enough to get some culturally established beauty, but really, I mean, his wit, his humor, those kinds of things are really what makes him what he is, and having an Nyy'xai partner to banter with and joke around with would show off more of what he's about. But everyone makes their own choices.
It just shows that the world has a skewed idea of like what it means for a relationship to be.
Uh-oh. Ben just sent me a message.
Oh.
I'm having connectivity issues with Google services right now specifically. My internet is fine. Web pages work, but Hangouts and chat are down for me.
Ooh. All right. Before we move on, do you guys think is there any way we can work around this since he has internet, or are we kind of?
I'll ask him if he thought of anything.
I don't know what to do. I think maybe you should try restarting. If not, then I mean, I guess the show must go on.
Yeah, unfortunately, but we'll see what we can do to help get it back in. But if so, yeah, we'll have to keep going.
Yeah, my Nyy'xai just tells me, just restart. Just keep restarting and keep restarting and keep restarting until you get it.
Yeah, because we're all using Google, so it's working.
Something's going on with my camera, so there's all kinds of weird things going on, but at least I can be here.
Yeah. I know sometimes I'm getting like some like
my camera's been breaking down for a while now. It might have just broken, for all I know. It's always done weird things. So
I had the same issue though. I think it might be something with connection. So I like that.
I'm getting so hungry listening to Mitchell.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's all good, man. It's good.
That's the thing, Coach. I ate before I came on. Right before I came on, I ate.
Smart man.
This is always dinner time at my house, so can't eat now.
The spoon and then the bowl is like ding, 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 ding.
He's going to try troubleshooting. He'll restart if he has to.
Okay, I just want to ask real quick though, Coach. Inspirational is like I like the way that you describe it there. It was described in a good way, and then what do you call it? Augmentation. It's sort of like two Nyy'xai. It's like when two pairings, like the Zhaini and the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai and the Zhaini, right? They get together to sort of focus on a cause.
Right.
That's usually when it happens. That's usually the story dynamic of why augmentation happens. But these, what do you call it, compensation, that's a little bit more trickier to understand exactly what's going on there. Cultural conditioning? And
yes, basically, kind of going along, say, for example, using Eddie Murphy and his Zaini wife, is that it's expected if you're a winner, perhaps that you have a model. Now, that's not how inspiration works. That's not how augmentation works. But a lot of times, that's how winning is defined. A culture has defined winning as you get a supermodel. Now you win the game.
Yeah, and the relationships are often pretty chaotic.
Indeed.
I've heard some stories.
So yeah, for sure. But does that make sense, Glenn? So basically, usually it's a cultural expectation that it's impinging on the actual storyline expectations, so that before the person does inspiration or even augmentation, they have this burden, like I need a successful partner. For example, I need to marry a doctor. Doesn't matter what mojo the doctor is, I need to marry a doctor because
Which will
that's
probably a lot of times be a Vaiji.
yeah, exactly. So a lot of IG get picked up because they're doctors, even though they may not be
Probably some
inspirational
Nyy'xai
at
in
all.
there does too. So
Yeah, I hear that a lot as far as like in terms of society expectation. You should, become a doctor. You should get involved in a relationship with a
always
doctor.
the world. It's always the world and its improper expectations screwing
Because
things up, whether what
doctors
partner
are
you get or your career.
Yeah, because doctors are successful, or lawyers are successful, or
Yes, you
these
are.
kinds of people. They're known in the world as being very successful people. Yeah.
That word's key, because really there's nothing more successful than peaking. And peaking comes best from inspiration, and next it comes from augmentation. But the success bar has been placed over here in left field. Now everyone's chasing after doctors and supermodels.
That's funny. That's the Vaiji.
Or
and the
just someone who
Nyy'xai
can
almost.
get things done worldly or anything.
Well, yeah, take for example like Bill Clinton and
Hillary Clinton. Oh
Hillary
my
Clinton.
God. Jeez.
Nyy'xai take care
That's
of
just a
business.
power couple right there.
Yeah.
And they can go and destroy everyone politically. They're probably the most powerful political couple in the world, but
Thus I am peaking. Well, that's not exactly how it works.
but you look at the love life going on there, and Bill Clinton's a pretty good example.
Definitely.
Yeah,
really work out.
they become very successful in a sort of lopsided way, but they're ignoring a certain other element, which is big works. All right, so yeah.
That's the thing.
Oh,
that-
your audio cut
Oh,
out.
you're back.
Oh, cool. Hey, Ben.
Hey guys.
Yay! I was just gonna say something.
Cut out the last
Well,
couple
apparently it did work. I don't know. It's probably because, like, when you connect to their, like, I didn't really need to restart my computer, quote unquote, but I needed to reconnect to their, like, reload their services, I guess, because it's like, I don't know.
Gotcha. Well, we had a nice chat while you were gone, so actually you're still up to go. We didn't go anywhere.
Okay. Cool.
Glenn,
I need to open up the ebook again.
What was the thing you said real quick there before you go on? I didn't catch your last, like, 2 sentences.
Oh yeah.
Glenn, are you hearing me?
Oh, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I was just saying.
The last thing, your audio cut out for a second there at the end.
It was nothing important. It was just, well, I don't want to say it's nothing important. It's just nothing. I just said, oh, I forget. It's just like the relationship between. It's sort of like the compensation relationship. It's successful in a very lopsided kind of way, right? But the thing is that a real like successful relationship is not focused on just like one specific area. It takes everything else into account, and that's something that can only be accomplished properly when you have two people who are ideal, inspirational for each other, or at least two people that have that relationship in their life somehow.
Indeed.
But the problem is
And I go even further than saying lopsided, although lopsided is definitely an accurate description. I would say lopsided and distracting. It
Yeah.
actually distracts from the real success you should be going after, because it takes up the whole, that thing you said, Glenn, the lopsidedness, it's there, and it's right in front of the person's eyes. They can't even see what they're actually going after. It blinds them.
It's like a weight, right? That needs to be lifted off. You need to like get out of that for a little bit in order to see what else is out in the world and see what life has to offer. And then when your cup is empty, then you can refill it up again in order to like with the right kind of math, right?
Otherwise, you'll always be thirsty. If you can't peak, you're going to always be thirsty.
Well, yeah, you're always going to be like somewhat like desirous of something more, but you can't really place why or what it is. It's like mojo reading, you know.
There's
Like,
nothing-
why is this answer not working?
There's nothing that can replace that inspirational feed. Even augmentation, you still have to find a way to get that feed. Although it's easy, you can still do it some, but you got to get it. Well, you'll be hungry. You'll be thirsty, as they say. All right, Ben, want to take us off? Start. Good discussion, guys.
So what were the questions again? I can't.
What are oh, should I reload it for you?
Yeah, you should reload it for.
Okay, here you go. Here, you see it?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm guessing compensation happens is third most common?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Overall. Okay.
Just the sheer volume, because there's so many different ways you can compensate.
So compensation life partners are people who conform to the health conditions that you've been put under in your life in a sort of makeshift kind of way. These are the third most common, behind inspiration augmentation. These Nyy'xai in particular need to be careful of avoiding these these life partner relationships because they can their lucky charm and metamorph abilities can make it so where they're pleasing to a lot of people in such a way that they can seem like a good partner for a short amount of time to people, but if they jump into a life partner relationship with someone, they could end up being trapped, which isn't good.
Indeed. All right, Mitchell, you're up next.
All right. So compensation life partners are life partners that are usually chosen due to some kind of overstimulation or like distracting goal or expectation of the world that's on you to make that partner seem like it would be more ideal than it is, and it's kind of a coping mechanism for that. And it's less common than inspiration and augmentation on the whole, as it should be, but more common than suppression. And the Nyy'xai need to be especially careful about compensation because they have kind of metamorphic lucky charm abilities that can shift forms and please all kinds of people's expectations very intensely for a short time, but it doesn't actually fulfill the Nyy'xai except for maybe a brief period, and so they're naturally going to want to move on, and that could be difficult if those same things that created the relationships in the first place, such as the mimetic expectations, get in the way.
Indeed. Yeah, certain cultures, once you get married, that's a deathlock.
Yeah.
Glenn, take us home.
Well, death do its part.
All right, so compensation life partners are another kind of relationship, another kind of relationship pairing that is not so uncommon, and they're usually born out of cultural conditioning and expectations. They are fairly common, but not as common as the inspirational or the augmentation. So you could say that they're like third most common kind of relationship to occur for the Nyy'xai, or for any mojo for that matter. But for the Nyy'xai specifically, it's a kind of relationship that they need to keep a limit on, because they're very, because of the Nyy'xai's very nature being adaptive and being very yin with their Ni and their Zhai, they can use their permeability and vulnerabilities to sort of like approximate like the needs and desires of other people. If they do that too much to a unhealthy degree with someone who is a compensation relationship for them, they can kind of confuse not only the other person but themselves into believing that maybe that kind of relationship is actually much more ideal than it really is. But actually, in truth, the Nyy'xai's quite literally, they're compensating their powers and the way that they use their powers to try and make that a successful relationship, but it's really, in terms of energetically speaking, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I guess this is how marriages are. No, this is how compensation relationships are.
Yeah, you need to think outside the box.
Indeed. Alrighty.
There's more.
Mitchell, you'll take lead in this next one.
Last one.
Last one, you're right.
For this.
For this one.
Okay.
What are suppression-like partners? How frequently do they occur? Which mode designs are suppression-like partners for Nyy'xai? And why do suppression-like partner situations occur with surprising frequency?
All right. Well, the last life partner grouping worth noting is the suppression relationship, which comes when the partners are designed or designs that put each other in a constant state of modulation. For Nyy'xai, this can often be the Vaiji. This is not energetically advantageous, but it happens usually because the Nyy'xai has mistaken Vaiji for a Nyy'xai, which the two are value-space hunters, but otherwise are very different. And obviously, I mean, probably the most pure suppression is Vi-Z and Z-Vi, those three.
So I'm guessing we're gonna mention all three of them, or
Yeah, go ahead and do that, and I'm going to add that too.
Yeah, just add those in there. Those are probably. But yeah, you're right. I'm sure the Vaiji is more common in actuality as far as the one they actually get with.
It's an interesting reason why that it's specifically the Vaiji, yeah. The
Yeah,
see why, just like Nyy'xai with Nyy'xai.
All like full inspiration and full augmentation, which are really common. With suppression, it tends to actually...
It's like the suppression that's closest to your inspirational.
Yeah, it's like the closest to the state for inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see
But
many
there is
Nyy'xai,
some inspiration there, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, Jez Gatherer to Jez Hunter, there is some, but it's strained.
Yeah. Like there was some Nyy'xai with Vizai, like Bruce Lee and Eminem, but Nyy'xai with Vizai is fairly common.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true, yeah.
So it's a way they can get a little bit of their worldly cred and like also, or they can think they are, and also some inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyways, suppression life partners are partners that put each other in a constant state of modulation because they have like one of their biggest modulation powers as one of their momentum powers, so they're going to be doing that, and you're going to have to deal with that accordingly. And these are, I guess, the least common on the whole, although there are certain versions of it that might be more common than certain versions higher up, but on the whole, suppression is the least common, as it should be. And because it's the most kind of energetically settling. And Mojo designs for suppression partners for the Nyy'xai are the Vaiji being most common for them to actually get with, but there's also Vi-Z and Z-Vi, and because those are honestly even more suppressive in a way, particularly the Vi-Z. And the suppression life partners occur with increasing frequency because, I mean, one is that they could be mistaking it as the thing said for their inspirational, because in some cases they can actually look very much like it. Like the Vaiji can look a lot like Nyy'xai, so there is some inspiration there.
That's speculation, but I do believe that.
Yeah. So there's, but I would add to that even in that confusion occurring, what they miss is obviously going to be kind of like compensation, but probably even more extreme, some kind of worldly explanation. Although in suppression's case, it's probably even more almost dangerously demanding. Because in compensation, it might just be something like, people want you to be like a cool person or something like that. I mean, it can be, but like for something like suppression, so like for a Nyy'xai where they need to be doing lots of buy, that would probably be like dire, like they need money or they need power or.
I like the term phrase used, dangerously demanding.
Yeah, because suppression is really where it's getting to like the deep Daryu.
For sure. All right, good job, Glenn. You're up next.
All right. All right. The last form of relationship that occurs in relationship dynamics is the suppression relationship, which tends to happen as a result of a lot of different factors, but tends to be sometimes confusion where the Nyy'xai may confuse a Nyy'xai or confuse a Vaiji for a Nyy'xai, and it's especially troubling when in general because the suppression relation puts a constant strain or constant modulation in the relationship, which is not healthy if it's done to an excessive degree. And if one is being in an intimate kind of relationship with someone, they spend a lot of time with each other, so that can especially be dangerous to each other's functioning and peaking overall. The different life partners that this include for the Nyy'xai would include the Vi-Z, the Vi-Ji, and the Z-Vi, but the Vi-Ji tends to be the one that they tend to get into a relationship the most often, I suppose, because they confuse the Vi-Ji for a Nyy'xai, and I think that might be the reason why they get into they're confusing what is a suppression relationship for a ideal inspirational. So that confusion can be very dangerous. Why does suppression like
I
partners?
think actually the way you opened this up, I think you've answered everything.
Oh, okay.
I think you incorporated some of it earlier
Right.
on in the material. I think you hit everything.
Okay.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, you're like, oh, a jazz hunter's a jazz hunter, right? No. Some big differences there. Ben, take us home.
I can just like I don't know, imagine like kind of a Nyy'xai bring like a Vi-Ji home to their family, and they kind of seem like a good person. I mean, they kind of seem like a good match, you know, on the surface, but like really, it's not.
You know what?
Not good energetic chemistry.
I have a bit of a theory, but I think that one of the reasons why maybe sometimes people have a bad relationship with their other is because they confuse like the Nyy'xai with the Vi-Ji or the Vi-Ji with the Nyy'xai. They tend to sort of like have these ideas about their ideal inspirational ideal, which are actually not true. And so they think that the Nyy'xai is supposed to be like a Vi-Ji, and so, but because it's like a bad in terms of energetically speaking, it paints the entire story to be incorrect and wrong.
Yeah.
But it's actually not supposed to be like that. So, yeah, I think that might be something.
Also on that one, I know one. I think you might have some there for sure, Glenn. I know another one that does come up quite a bit is augmentation expectations, where a lot of people kind of think like, I want someone basically just like me, but you know, the gender that I can be intimate with. And so they actually sometimes like say you'll see a lot of like double Vi-Ji, double Nyy'xai, double everything, and just the way they interact, I'm speculating that they would probably find the challenge of their actual ideal inspiration a bit too much from what they think. I think they think it should be a lot more comfortable than it is, or less challenging than it's actually supposed to be.
Yeah. They want to like kind of keep themselves in a very like normal, comfortable state where there's no stress, but that's not necessarily what's best for a person. You know, you need to get your medicine.
I can understand being easily fooled by that because you're like, ooh, we have the same channel ranking, so we value things. That is true, and it's very comfortable. That's not the barometer for successful people.
But it gets very small, and like when you're inspirational, you expand the stress that you can handle.
Yeah, exactly. Stress actually causes you to grow, right? That's what it's all about.
As long as it's done in the most comfortable way, which your inspirational is designed to do, not your suppression.
Yeah, so you don't be overstressed, but stressed through proper challenge, that's necessary for growth.
Yeah, not injury. You don't want to get to the point where you're injuring yourself, but you definitely do want to be working out your muscles, right?
All right, Ben, take us home.
All right. Suppression-like partners are mojos that augment your modulation powers the most. And those for the Nyy'xai are the Vi-Z, the Z-Vi, and the Vi-Ji. For the Vi-Z, they will be the most suppressive because they have Vi source powers, Nyy'xai as Vi as their polar power, and they have Z as their tandem, whereas Nyy'xai have Z as their offside. Vi-Ji, similarly, I mean, they're just hunters, so like there's some like inspiration there, but because they still Vi's their source power, it's still a lot of suppression. And then you also have the Z-Vi, which aren't isn't quite as much suppression, mainly because the Z is actually their offside power, so it's like slightly less bad, I guess, of a life partner, but it's still, I mean, it's still very, very suppressing.
Indeed.
It's still bad.
And suppression, I'll mention, but suppression life partners are the least common, but they are not uncommon.
Yes, yes.
All right, that closes us out. Boom, one pitch down. Next up, and Glenn, you'll take lead in this. We're moving on to unconscious genius.
I was wondering, Coach, maybe we should try just sort of getting as far as we can and then cutting it off at 10 o'clock so we can get to the other stuff.
Say again, I'm sorry?
Oh, maybe I was suggesting maybe we could basically segment the hangout so where we go until 10 o'clock and then the other time is spent on the
other stuff?
Big stuff.
All right.
I'm not sure if you want to do that. It's just a suggestion.
Let me think about that, but I could try it out today. I feel a little weird about doing a partial pitch, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the reasoning is because, like, in the last 2 times, we've spent the entire time working on this.
You know what I'm wondering?
We never
Should we just start earlier?
We could start earlier?
We could also start earlier. That works for me, too.
Moving at a faster clip, because I think sometimes we stop to discuss more. Maybe we could pare that down some. But I'm cool either way.
I think starting earlier might be good if we can do it anyway.
Yeah. Would you guys mind starting like a half an hour earlier?
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I like that better than stop because I think the conversations are actually useful and they help with points.
Yeah. I think conversation is useful. I enjoy them a lot, and I also think that completing a pitch arc is good to do for learning.
I appreciate the extent of it though, Ben.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up. So I'm cool with actually starting early or going a little later as well. But you guys,
and we don't want to just do one pitch a night because that's like really slow.
Really slow, yeah. Okay, so how about tonight? Because Jaileen's actually out on a date with a Nyy'xai fella, so good for her.
Oh wow,
awesome!
Again, I remember she did that once.
Yeah. So if we want, we can go a little later today. Make sure we still get some time in. Ben, does that sound good?
Oh, sure, sounds good.
Okay, so we'll make sure we get a little time in for that, and then next time we can start earlier.
Cool.
Sure.
Thanks for bringing it up. Okay, Glenn, you'll go first.
All right.
Here we go. What is the unconscious genius? What is the mojo design of the unconscious genius for the Nyy'xai? Why? What storyline does the Nyy'xai and its unconscious genius combine to create?
All right. Nyy'xai have the conscious powers of Nyy'xai, Z, and Pi, which means that their unconscious genius is Nyy'xai, or has the powers of Nyy'xai, Zai, and V. So basically, they have a Nyy'xai mojo in their unconscious that completes them. The Nyy'xai mojo has the 4 powers the Nyy'xai mojo does not, and in the ideal energetic ranking, going from the interpretive channel to the values-based channel to the logic-based channel, and then finally to the literal channel. One's unconscious genius is the greatest influence there is on what a person finds most inspiring in life, including their surroundings, their career, and their ideal life partners. The Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai combine to create one holistic, heroic storyline called the Nyy'xai storyline, which has all 8 powers of the psyche working. Right. So the unconscious genius is the thing that a particular mojo, any particular mojo, finds the most inspiring in life, and also shares their exact same powers in terms of interpretive, literal, logic-based, values-based, all those channels completely lining up correctly, but having none of the same powers. So the opposite power. So Nai, that would be Ni, Ji, that would be Jai, and so on. and having that kind of ranking and what is a person's unconscious genius. So for the Nyy'xai, this would be the Nyy'xai, because they have Nyy'xai Zai V, which lines up perfectly with their Nyy'xai Z and Vi, because it's interpretive, values-based, logic-based, literal, and then also Nyy'xai Z Vi are none of the same powers that the Nyy'xai have, which are Nyy'xai Zai and V. The storyline that together both the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai combine to create is referred to as the Nyy'xai storyline, and yeah, that's it, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so, because you kind of covered the rest of that earlier on. Good job. All right, Ben, you're up.
Cool. Interesting. Okay, so the unconscious genius is the mojo that completes the your four conscious power hierarchy, and for Nyy'xai that will be the Nyy'xai, because they have the same four channels, Nez over in the exact same ranking, Nez over Jez over Zez over Bez, and the four powers that they do not. Together, the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai make up the super awesome, heroic Nyy'xai storyline.
Good. All right. Mitchell, take us home, please.
All right then. We'll do just that. The unconscious genius is the thing that exerts the greatest influence over what a person finds inspiring in life, including their surroundings, career, and life partners. And going along with that, that's going to be the powers that are in the same channeling order as far as mojo, in the same channel order, but the opposite power in the channel. So for the Nyy'xai, that means their life partner is going to be a Nyy'xai, and that's because they have the interpretive channel first, but Nai instead of Ni, values-based, but G instead of Zhai, logic-based, I instead of Z, literal, V instead of Phi. And the storyline that the Nyy'xai and its unconscious genius combine to create is the Nyy'xai storyline, which is a full, complete storyline with all 8 powers designed to work together in productive harmony.
Bam. Nicely done. All right, back to you, Ben.
Oh yeah, I was wondering, Coach, what do the italics represent in the book?
Oh, that represents. If I'm mistaken, are you looking at the Popular Proclamation?
Yes.
Okay, in Popular Proclamation, there are some sections that are covered earlier in the book, and so they made sense for the pitch to include them again because they made sense for the narrative. But I put them in italics to let the reader know that it's not new material. Those are actually things that have been covered in another area.
Oh, I see. That's cool. That's cool.
Alrighty. So for Ben, what is the first ranked power of the unconscious genius for the Nyy'xai, and why? Why are they inspirational to each other? What do they combine to create? How are these powers similar, and how are they different?
Okay. Nyy'xai have Ni as their first-ranked conscious power, which means they have Nai as their first-ranked unconscious power. Ni is the adaptive interpretive perception power, and Nai is the directive interpretive perception power, which makes them inspirational to each other as they combine to complete the interpretive perception channel. Although both Ni and Nai are in the interpretive perception channel, it is the Ni that brings the playful, clever, and relativistic side, whereas Nai brings the serious, cunning, and absolutist side.
Wait, I think I remember this.
Yeah, I remember this too.
I'm starting to remember the lines, yeah, because they start getting similar.
Yeah.
I feel like I may have done this.
We should power through this pretty quick then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that I think I've done it, it's just that a lot of the lines are similar to the Nyy'xai version because they're just...
Yeah, it's very mathematical in this section. I think it is useful to kind of do it from the headspace of a Nyy'xai, because someday maybe teaching a Nyy'xai, it's kind of cool to explain why this is inspirational to them. It's also obviously by default inspirational to you too, but it's cool to kind of tell it from their side of the story.
Yeah. Personal instance.
I've noticed that with the baristas I've talked to is that a lot of times when we talk about the Nyy'xai and Nyy'xai stuff, some stuff is like exactly the same because we're connected that way, but they definitely pick on it a lot better when you're telling it from their side of it.
The first rank power of the unconscious genus for the Nyy'xai is going to be Nai, because they have Ni as their first rank power, and because Nai is the directive interpret perception power, Ni is the adaptive interpret perception power, both of those powers make up the interpretive perception channel. They are similar in that they make up the interpret perception channel. And they're different in that Nai brings more the cunning, serious, absolute side, and Ni brings more of the playful, relativistic, clever side.
Got it. Mitchell?
The only thing I'm a little bit confused about is the question. No, never mind. I'm not confused about it. I changed my mind. Okay, so the first ranked power of the unconscious genius for the Nyy'xai is Nai, and that's because the Nyy'xai has Ni, and they're inspirational. Ni is their source power, and they're inspirational because Nai and Ni complete the interpret perception channel, which is the source channel for the Nyy'xai's Tori. There. And these powers are similar because they are both interpretive perceptions. They're perceptions that are essentially pattern-based rather than looking at literal details. They try and create like kind of whole patterns. But they are different because Ni is adaptive. It's got a more playful, relativistic, and clever side. We use the word clever. And Nyy'xai have it's a directive, so it's more serious, absolute, and cunning. And the cunning, clever, I guess, is just different ways of talking about like insightfulness. But I guess cunning maybe sounds more
predatory.
More predatory, more like fierce, and clever. And clever sounds more light and playful. But both are equally important.
Glenn, take us home.
All right, Nyy'xai have Ni as their conscious source power, first strength power. So that means that their unconscious first strength power is going to be Nai, which is for the Ni, for the power of Ni, it is a interpretive perception and adaptive power, or adaptive interpretive perception, and Nai is a directive interpretive perception. So they do. So they're very inspiring to one another because they are both interpretive perception powers, but Ni brings the more playful, relativistic, and what's the other word? Yeah, it's just playful, relativistic, and kind of just free-form quality side of things, whereas the Nai brings more of the absolutist and serious side of it.
And if you guys wanted to know, maybe what you're referring to for Mitchell, why they inspire each other, if I kind of coalesce into one thing, it would be completion.
Yeah.
That's
what I figured. It was more that I was just like, the reason I was gonna say I was confused was because I'll try to make this quick. The first question asks what's the first part of the unconscious genius for the Nyy'xai and why. I kind of thought that would sort of be why they're inspirational to each other. Like you're kind of asking like why is it? But you can answer that in such a way that they're two different questions, kind of.
Gotcha. Yeah. Alrighty. Because you kind of focus on the ranking.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mitchell, you'll take lead in this next one.
Yeah. Go.
Very similar.
I feel like we're going to power through these pretty quick.
Yeah. We'll have time actually. Okay. Pretty quick.
Yeah, this will be quick. All right. Do you want to ask the other questions, or do I?
Sure. What is the second rank power of the unconscious genius for the Nyy'xai, and why? Why are they inspirational to each other? What do they combine to create? And how are these powers similar and how are they different?
All right. So Nyy'xai have Zhai as their second rank conscious power, which means they have Xi as their second rank unconscious power. Zhai is the adaptive values-based discernment power, and Xi is the directed values-based discernment power, which makes them inspirational to each other as they combine to complete the values-based discernment channel. Although both Zhai and Xi are in the values-based discernment channel, it is the Zhai that brings the authentic, healing, and empathetic side, whereas Xi brings the charismatic, emboldening, and shepherding side of it. All right.
These adjectives. Huh.
The adjectives. Let's see.
Such poetry. Much wow.
Okay, Doge.
Doge.
I love Doge. That's a cool one. Okay. So, the second rank power of the unconscious name from Nyy'xai is Xi, because Nyy'xai have Zhai as their second rank power, and the reason they're inspirational is because Zhai and Xi make up together. They complete each other in the values-based discernment channel, which is the second channel in the Nyy'xai's storyline that the Nyy'xai is part of, and that's the part they don't have. And that's what they combine to create. They combine to create the values-based discernment channel, and the powers are similar because they are both values-based discernments. They're discernments that are based on not logical or impersonal criteria, but based on personal criteria, how things make you feel, stuff like that, and how people should be treated. And they're different because Dai brings the authentic feeling of side, and Xi brings the what's it, shepherding, emboldening, and charismatic. So I remember that's powerful.
Oh,
Alright.
that's good.
Oh yeah, let me think this great. Charming.
So who's next?
Glenn is up next.
Okay.
Right, so Nyy'xai have Zhai as their second rank power, which means that they have Xi as their second rank unconscious power. Zhai is a values-based, is an adaptive values-based discernment power, and Xi is a directive values-based discernment power, and together they combine to create the values-based channel. Although both Zhai and Xi are values-based discernments, it is Zhai that brings the authentic, healing, and empathic side of the those qualities to the values-based channel, whereas the Xi brings the charismatic angle to it, or side of it.
Got it. Ben, take it home.
All right. The second-ranked unconscious power for the Nyy'xai is Xi, because Nyy'xai have Zhai as the second-ranked conscious power, and together Xi and Zhai are values-based discernment powers, and that's how they're similar. Is they're both they're discernments based on values-based criteria, but they're different in that the Xi brings the charismatic, charming, shepherding side, and the Zhai brings the healing, the sort of poignant side.
Cool, that works. Do you mind also, I don't think you mentioned it, quite obvious, but go ahead and mention it, what they combine to create?
Oh, the Judge channel. Yeah, maybe I didn't explicitly say that. I think I said, like, values-based discernment channel or something.
Cool, wait. All right, you got it. All right, Glenn, you'll take lead in this next one.
3 hands.
Third rank power of the unconscious genius of Nyy'xai, and why? Why are they inspirational to each other? What do they combine to create? How are these powers similar, and how are they different?
Right, so Nyy'xai have Z as their third rank conscious power, which means that they have Zai as their third rank unconscious power. Z is the directive logic-based discernment power, and Zai is the adaptive logic-based discernment power, which makes them inspirational to each other as they combine to complete the logic-based discernment channel. Although both Z and Zai are in the logic-based discernment channel, it is the Z that brings the strategic, organized, and authoritative side, whereas Zai brings the tactical, calibrated, and unflappable side of it. Nyy'xai have Z as their third rank power, which means that they have Zai as their third rank unconscious power. Z is a directive logic-based discernment power, and Zai is a adaptive logic-based discernment power, which makes them both inspirational to each other. And they discernment channel. Although they are both logic-based discernment powers, it is Z that brings the strategic, organized, and authoritative side of it, whereas the Zai brings the tactical, calibrated, and unflappable side of it.
All right. The third-ranked unconscious power for the Nyy'xai is Zai, because Nyy'xai in the third-ranked conscious position have Z. And Z and Zai are logic-based discernment powers, and thus they make up the logic-based discernment channel, thus they make up the Zez channel. They are similar in that they are both logic-based discernments, and they're different in that Z brings the strategic, authoritative, more organized, structured side, and Zai brings the tactical, calibrate, and unflappable side.
Mitchell, take it home.
All right. The third rank power of the unconscious genius for Nyy'xai is Zai, because Nyy'xai have Z as their third rank power, offside power, and the reason Z and Zai are inspirational to one another is that they essentially complete one another to create the Zez channel, the logic-based channel. And that is the third channel for the Nyy'xai story that Nyy'xai are a part of, and then Nyy'xai are unconscious genius. And the powers are similar because they are both logic-based discernments, that is, they make discernment based on personal logical criteria where the instinct is not allowed to get in the way. And the are different. The powers are different because it brings the strategic, organized, authoritative side, and Zai brings the tactical, calibrator, and flappable side.
Got it. All right. Last one. We're done here. Ben, let's go first. All right. What is the fourth rank power of the unconscious genius of the Nyy'xai, and why? Why are they inspirational to each other? What do they combine to create? How are these powers similar, and how are they different?
Nyy'xai have Vi as their fourth-ranked conscious power, which means they have V as their fourth-ranked unconscious power. Vi is the directive literal perception power, and V is the adaptive literal perception power, which makes them inspirational to each other as they combine to complete the literal perception channel. Although both Vi and V are in the literal perception channel, it is the Vi that brings the focused, prepared, standards of excellence side, whereas V brings the exuberant, galvanized, zest for life side of it. The fourth ranked unconscious power for the Nyy'xai is V, because the Nyy'xai have in their fourth ranked conscious position Vi. Vi and V are both literal perception powers, which means that they both belong to the literal perception channel, and that is the way in which they are similar. They combine to create that. They are different in that Vi brings the focused, prepared, standards of excellence side, and V brings the galvanized, zest for life, earthy side.
All right, let's do it. The fourth ranked power of the unconscious genius for the Nyy'xai is V, and that's because the Nyy'xai have Vi as their fourth ranked or fuller power, and the reason V and Vi are inspirational to one another is that they complete each other by together making up the literal perception channel, which is the fourth channel in the Nyy'xai storyline that the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai together share and make up in sum total. And the powers are similar because they're both perceptions based on details. They both look at the kind of sense data, experiential details of things in their particular way. But they're different because V brings the... Actually, I have to start with Vi, because that's the Nyy'xai's. And so Vi brings the focused, prepared, standards of excellence side of it, or V brings the exuberant zest for life. There's a lot of things I could say. I don't remember it. Animal magnetism. Sure.
Alright, Glenn, take us home, and it's music time.
It's galvanized.
Alright, so Nyy'xai have Vi as their fourth ranked conscious power, which means that they have V as their fourth ranked unconscious ranked power. Vi is a directive, literal perception power, and V is an adaptive literal perception power, and together they combine to create the literal perception channel. Although both Vi and V are part of the literal perception channel, it is the Vi that brings the focused, prepared, standards of excellence side of it, whereas the V brings the exuberant, galvanized, and zest for life side of it.
All right. Ching-ching. Nicely done, team. All right. So, should we go offline then? All right. Say goodbye, world.
My world.
Bye.
They saw me anyway, so who cares?